Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of BraveHawk Talk. I'm Bull Slavin. Today we have an exciting episode for you, as it is the 1st of May. We'll bring on Brazilian native Nathalia Silva of the UNCP swim team, who had some impressive times from this past season. And we also bring back John Gross. John, of course, is the voice of the Braves and has been your host all the way through BraveHawk Talk as we transition into the summer months. We'll be taking over for him until he returns in August. So we have an exciting show for you coming up, so sit back and we hope you enjoy. Welcome back to BraveHawk Talk. I'm Bull Slavin. I'm here with UNCP swimmer, Brazilian native Nathalia Silva, as our Scotland Healthcare Student Athlete of the Week. We are very excited to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Doing well. Very excited. This is my first podcast taking over for John, who we have on later in the show, but thrilled to have you on with us, and of course have a couple teammates here with you as well. I know, and I've seen you guys around campus walking around and everything like that. What has this been like? Obviously, you came in for the spring semester and you were anticipating swimming and the meets, and you had a huge conference meet and obviously set a bunch of records for us here at UNC Pembroke right out of the gate. But what has this time period been like, and walking around on campus? What have you guys been up to?
Right now, the campus is really empty. So we've been going to the track to practice a little bit and just walking around the campus, trying to do something and don't stay too much alone.
And how I know that upcoming this week is obviously finals for everybody, and I know that school is obviously a lot different here, right? Can you talk about what that process has been like, and how are you preparing for finals, and do you feel prepared for it?
Yeah, right now with online classes, it's kind of a little bit more difficult. For me, I like going to class, but I'm doing good. I'm studying a lot for them, so I think I'm ready.
Good. And obviously we were talking a little bit beforehand, before we came on air, about back home in Brazil and your family and everything like that. Have you been able to talk to them, and how are they doing, and what's something you miss most about home, I guess?
I talk to them every day. I call them on video call, and they're doing good. They miss me, and I miss them a lot. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going back home yet because of the coronavirus, but I want to go back home.
Yeah, no, I understand as well. My parents are only 2 hours away, and same thing. I'm not going home anytime soon with this, but I'm ready to go home, ready to see my parents as well. So I completely understand that and feeling that, especially with them being in a different country. But especially with your family, and obviously you've made a new family here with your teammates. What has that been like, of transitioning to UNCP swimming and developing a family where you fit right in right away? A ton of international presence and different country origins that are on the swim team. What's that been like for you, of developing kind of your own family away from home?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be difficult, but the girls from the team received me really well, and they make me feel home here, and I am thankful for that. And it's really good. A lot of different cultures, and be able to talk like to everybody about it is really nice. It makes me feel home.
And obviously with the different cultures, have you picked up some of the other culture stuff that maybe you didn't know before, especially because in Brazil, with more the Portuguese side compared to, I know a lot of our team is more the Hispanic side, right?
Yeah.
Have you picked up some of that stuff? I know a lot of it translates pretty easily, but obviously there's some differences there.
Yeah, I always talk with the girls, and they start talking in Spanish, and I kind of know a little bit, but sometimes they talk too fast, and I need to say, like, slow down. I can't understand you. But they're helping me to learn more English and more Spanish.
Good. Well, your English sounds just fine so far. I'm not very good with Spanish myself, so I don't know how your Spanish is doing. But we're not going to find out on this episode. But obviously, one thing is coming up is obviously Cinco de Mayo, and obviously a couple of your teammates here are Hispanic. Are you guys having any plans for Cinco de Mayo coming up this week? Have you guys talked about it at all or anything like that yet?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't know.
So nothing definitive yet. Maybe some puzzles and hanging out. Have y'all been doing puzzles, coloring books, that type of thing?
Coloring books.
Coloring books?
Yeah, they do. I mean, yeah, sometimes me, but yeah. Most of the time I just like listen to music and that's it. Or play volleyball.
Stay together. We play volleyball.
Volleyball.
Yeah.
Way of staying in shape.
Yeah.
Good. And so let's transition a little bit and let's talk about obviously your actual time in the pool and in the water where you obviously love to be and setting the records. And is there a favorite event that you have?
I like distance.
Distance events?
The 1,000 and the mile. But I kind of like sprint too, but the distance is better for me.
More endurance based rather than, and it's all freestyle for distance events.
Yeah,
for
it's all
listening,
freestyle.
right?
Yeah.
Good. And then so you had a couple national qualifying times already as well coming in. You know, your first year coming in late. Talk about kind of what Coach Oscar has meant to you and meant to the team. Obviously, him being Italian, another culture coming into the team. What has that been like about having him as a coach and obviously Juliana as well? What has that been like for you guys?
It's been really nice. Like, they make us practice really hard, and that's good. And I think they have like they helped me a lot to win this records and to get the national qualified. They helped me a lot.
And obviously with them, and you talked a little bit before we came on as well that your favorite moment so far this year was conference, and obviously the first title in the swimming program's history. It's a huge accomplishment. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
And congratulations to all the individual awards that you won there as well with the Mountain East Conference. Talk a little bit about that moment and what conference was like for you in winning a championship and then coming back and Swimmer of the Year and all of that. Talk a little bit about it. What did that mean coming in, and what are your goals moving forward? You set the bar so high in your first year with us. What are you looking to do moving forward during your time here in Pembroke?
Yeah, I'm looking to get better and better every year. And one thing about the conference that makes me really happy is that everybody is cheering for everybody there. So the girls was like in the pool, outside of the pool, cheering for me the whole mile, and it helps a lot. It's really different from back home that we need to swim without a cheer. So this helps me a lot to swim the whole mile with someone outside the pool. Is really different. And I'm happy to get the records and the swim of the year, and I'm looking for next year to get better, to drop my times and win the swimmer of the year again.
There's nothing wrong with back-to-back Swimmer of the Year awards, and obviously we're wishing that as well. We love recognizing you and your teammates on all of the accomplishments that the swim team has done, especially with being our youngest program here on campus, just 4 years, already a conference title and some impressive times to go along with it. A lot of them coming from you yourself on that. So to wrap up, Todd obviously has given us questions on every show that we are supposed to ask each guest on the show, and they're a little bit more challenging, so take all the time you need to develop an answer.
Okay.
They're fun, but like I said, they are challenging. Okay. So the question that we're gonna ask is, what are 2 things that help clear your mind and put you at ease? So these can be 2 things either prior to a race, or a meet, or just in general? Obviously, right now times are crazy. So, what are two things that you think about to help put your mind at ease?
Oh, I love listening to music. This helps me relax. And at this time, just being with the girls that I basically live with, they help me a lot.
And is there a certain type of music that you listen to? What is Nathalia Silva's go-to music selection?
I like all types of music, but some Brazilian music, and I don't know, Airbnb. Airbnb. R&B.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, we will definitely have you back on and back in, especially as we move closer to Carnival next year, and maybe talk with you a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on all of your success so far this year. We look forward to seeing all that you've accomplished moving forward. But once again, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That is Nathalia Silva, the Brazilian from the UNC Pembroke swim team. Thanks for joining us. Once again, a special thanks to Nathalia Silva from the UNCP swim team for joining us here this evening on BraveHawk Talk. We move on to our broadcaster and creator of BraveHawk Talk. He's called the 2017 Rose Bowl for Penn State. He's called the Winston-Salem State game winner here at UNC Pembroke. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Mr. John Gross. John, thanks for joining us. It's great to have you on BraveHawk Talk. On the other side of the microphone, obviously, John, you've been hosting all the way through and really got this podcast up and running to the point where it is now. We're super excited to have you on. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is, I think, the first time I've ever been interviewed before, like ever. So a little bit different for me. So we'll see how it goes.
I don't know if I will be able to hold a candle to your interviewing skills. Obviously, you already interviewed me on one of the episodes, so this is definitely weird, and we're gonna get through it together, John. But
Bull, you'll be great. Don't worry. You did a great
to,
job hosting the Golden Braves. I have full faith in you that you can host this podcast.
Well, thank you. And for all those that don't know, obviously John will be coming back next year. We're super excited to have him back. He did a tremendous job for us in his first year as a Brave, but his time has come to a close as he heads into the summer months, which we'll talk a little bit more about, as I know that some of the plans may have changed from what you and I discussed earlier in the year. So let's jump right into it. Obviously, John, you just wrapped up the craziest time of year here in Braves athletics. You put together our first ever virtual award show, having Apollo Anton Ono and Monica Abbott and some other huge names, Nui Scruggs and Freddie Coleman, that tie more to your realm, with both being a radio host. Tell us a little bit more about that. Obviously, your bread and butter is your voice and the golden pipes of being on air. But what was putting together something of that magnitude like, and learning more about Premiere and the video process this year?
Well, I think that project was kind of a microcosm of this whole year for me. I knew how to use Premiere. I was familiar with it from a news reporting standpoint, not so much a creative content standpoint. So throughout this year, that's something that I've been able to improve upon and really learn. So when I got to the end of the year and it was time to put together the Golden Braves, I felt that I had an idea of what tools I needed to utilize to put together a successful project. And obviously, I mean, I couldn't have done it without the help of everyone else. So it was, you and Christina writing the script and the help of the whole team. But it took me about a week or so in total to put it all together. But after the show came out and I saw the reaction on social media, it made it all worth it. Seeing these student athletes and the coaches, especially the seniors, be honored like this when their careers came to such an abrupt halt and an ending for some of them. Some may be back, but it definitely made all the work worth it.
And, I mean, it was an exciting year in itself, followed by, like you said, an abrupt and crazy ending that none of us forecast, and obviously that's playing an even bigger role for you right now going into summer. Normally, you are the voice of a summer ball team, and tell us a little bit more about that. Feel free to give them a shout out, and obviously, what are their plans, and what are you thinking your plans are right now moving forward for the summer?
So, yeah, this summer is supposed to be my third summer as the director of broadcasting for the Saugerty Stallions in upstate New York. They're in the Hudson Valley region, if anyone's familiar with New York State. They play in the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, which is a league with some of the top collegiate baseball players. Go there over the summer. It's a great place to work. And I was thrilled to be heading back there this summer, but we still haven't gotten any final decision from the league. I know that a few summer leagues, mainly the Cape Cod League, announced that their season is canceled. A few others have said that they'll start July 1st. So we'll see what happens, but I'm obviously hoping that the season happens at some point. But I'm excited that I'll have at least a few weeks off to relax. That season's supposed to start late May, so at least until then I'll have time to relax, which will be nice. And if that season is unfortunately canceled, I mean, I'll just hang out, relax for the summer. I've been utilizing this time to try to improve as a broadcaster by attending Zoom sessions, having phone calls and emails with some of my mentors and some new people in the industry who I've just reached out to, and that's been great. So I'm trying to just make the best out of this situation.
Yeah, I think that goes for all of us. I've been doing the same thing with NACMA, our committee, which obviously we submitted, and are hoping to bring home a few more awards this year thanks to your help, and obviously our external ops team as a whole, all of the work that we do. It's nice to get some reward back on it. But one of those things for sure is obviously the importance of teleworking and making those connections. I think it's crazy how many connections that I've been able to make and you've been able to make during this time. Normally we think about conventions or meeting people in person, and this has almost been a better opportunity to make those connections than I think normally the crazy time period that we're normally in at this point, postseason play and everything else. We're normally so wrapped up in what we're doing. It's nice to kind of take the opportunity to move forward and make those connections. So is there a certain connection that you've been kind of most excited about at this point that you've made, or is there somebody you've reached out to that you're really looking forward to hopefully hearing from?
So I've been on, I want to give a quick shout out to somebody, Dave Leno. He's a play-by-play broadcaster in the Philadelphia area. He calls games on ESPN. Awesome guy. I met him a couple of years ago. He was broadcasting a Penn State game that I was also calling in Atlantic City. I just went up to him and we spoke, and we've been in contact ever since. And he has set up these weekly Zoom calls with some huge names: Kevin Harlan, Sean McDonough, JP Delacamera. Am I forgetting anyone? And yesterday, this is what I was going to bring up too, a guy named Mike Corey was on. And Mike is a ESPN college football broadcaster. And Mike and I actually had another phone call today. And he was super helpful, and he'll be looking over my demo reels. But just to be able to learn from a Kevin Harlan with, I don't know, it wasn't a huge group of people on the call. I got to ask him a question. Sean McDonough got to ask him a question. JP Delacamera, same thing. And Mike Corey, who was on yesterday. That's been incredible. And big shout out to Dave. He's the man, and for him to be just using some of this time to help others is very admirable.
And you obviously mentioned that you were calling for Penn State, graduated, and obviously a big We Are guy.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that. You've had some incredible experiences at Penn State, both that you got to experience as a student and a broadcaster. Is there a particular moment that kind of sticks out? I know that you and I have talked about the whiteout game multiple times. Can you talk a little bit about that, what your experience was like there, and is there a favorite moment that you have from broadcasting, maybe both from your past, be it summer ball or Penn State or freelancing, and then your favorite moment here as well? Obviously, we had a lot of exciting moments this year.
So my experience at Penn State was incredible, and I could go on for 10 hours about my time at Penn State. My dad went to Penn State, so I've been going there forever, and it exceeded my expectations without a doubt. While I was at Penn State, like you said, I did a lot of broadcasting. I was involved in my fraternity. I was president of my fraternity. That was awesome. But the broadcasting side was unbelievable. I'd say the biggest highlight from Penn State in terms of broadcasting was calling the Rose Bowl. In the 2017 Rose Bowl, Penn State versus USC, I was only a sophomore. I had only broadcasted one full football game on the radio before that. And I was so fortunate to be selected by a Maddie Brightman who works at ESPN. She was the general manager of our student radio station. And I'll never forget when I got the call from her. And I mean, as a lifelong Penn State fan, as a lifelong college football fan, it doesn't get any bigger than the Rose Bowl. So at 19 years old to be able to, I think 19 years old to be able to call the Rose Bowl and see Chris Fowler, who is my broadcasting idol, like up close and in person, was incredible. And my favorite broadcast moment here was definitely, and like you said, there were a lot of great ones, but the Winston-Salem State football game was amazing. Like I said, I've been a lifelong college football fan. My dream job is to call college football at the highest levels and like on ESPN. So to be able to live my dream of broadcasting college football as a professional and have the first game in a rivalry game be as exciting as it was with as epic of an ending as we saw, that was amazing. That was amazing.
And obviously John's referring back to the Winston-Salem State game from this year with PJ having the game-sealing interception to clinch that one for the Braves. A very exciting start to the year and a very exciting night with that being Military Appreciation Night as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you worked on that video, one of your first creative videos of the year for us. So a huge night all around for that, and incredible moments all the way through this season. Talk a little bit more about, obviously we've gotten to meet your family and them coming down and how much of Brave supporters they are, and especially I think it is your grandmother, right?
Yes.
Who is always commenting on our social media, and I feel like we've turned them into big Braves fans as well.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. I'm so fortunate to have such an incredible family. My parents, my younger brother, who is actually today just finished his sophomore year at Penn State, so congratulations to Matt. My grandparents, have a great girlfriend who's super supportive of what I do. But yeah, like you said, they've become huge UNCP people. My parents came down with me to drop me off initially. My dad came down for a football game. He also went to the basketball game at Queens, and then he came down for another basketball game at home. He loves it. I mean, they watch all the games. They follow us on social media. As he said, they always like and comment on our posts. And I've obviously had glowing remarks about UNC Pembroke, and they certainly have been excited to hear that, and feel that they're a part of Brave Nation too. So they've definitely enjoyed following UNCP athletics.
And you mentioned obviously the family culture, and we saw you posted in your tweet as well. It's not a goodbye tweet, but more of a for now tweet, I guess, that you released talking about family and what UNC Pembroke is and what the town of Pembroke is, and talk a little bit more about that, especially for, this is super helpful for all of our recruits right now, especially when they can't visit campus right now. Everybody's stuck at home. They can't visit. Coaches can't bring recruits in, and new incoming freshmen aren't allowed to come see campus right now. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about what your experience was and kind of what that family culture like at UNC Pembroke has been for you, both as an employee and kind of getting to watch what UNC Pembroke athletics is.
So, for context, I'm from northern New Jersey, about 40 minutes without traffic outside of New York City. But there's always traffic, so it ends up being a lot longer than that. So I'm from the suburbs of New York City. I went to Penn State, which has 45,000 undergrad students. Very different than Pembroke, North Carolina. I'd never visited before I first got down here back in August. I had done research and everything, and understood it would be a bit of a difference in terms of culture, in terms of size of the school, in terms of size of the town. But it has been an incredible experience, and I remember Todd Anderson, who is an incredible boss, said when I first accepted the job that this is like a family here. And, every place says that. Every place says we're so close, it's a great work environment, but it's a fact that UNCP and this athletic department is a family. It's nice that it's a little bit smaller, and even so, there's still over 7,000 students here, but everyone seems to know everyone. Everybody cares about each other, and especially in the athletic department, everyone is just so supportive and friendly and kind and wants to help you and wants you to succeed. And I don't know how many places you find that, and that goes beyond just the external ops. I know that goes with our coaches and student athletes, and yeah, it's just it's a special place, and it really is a family.
John, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you this year, and we're super thankful that you're coming back. We're excited to see what the future holds for both your career, as we know it's going to be a big one, but also for next year at UNC Public Athletics. And a special thank you. We know that obviously your girlfriend is right now intern, helping out in the front lines with COVID-19. So a special shout out to her and all of our healthcare workers, including those at Scotland Healthcare that are helping us fight COVID-19 right now. But as you know, we're going to keep the tradition going. Thanks to Todd Anderson. We have to end with one
Looking forward to
question.
this.
So
Let's go.
Because I think we can get a good story out of it. Todd
Okay.
gave me 2 questions to choose from.
Okay.
But because I think we can get a good story out of it, I'm choosing this one. If any of your memories could be made into a short film, what would that memory be? And just because you have so many great ones already, and a couple of them we've already talked about with the Rose Bowl and obviously the Winston-Salem State game, is there a memory that you think we could turn an entire film in? And please don't ask me to write the script if you do.
No, is there a only one memory, or can I pick a few?
We'll say one memory, and unless the multiple memories string together for one story.
They don't. So I'll stick with one
Just
then.
one
I'll stick with
memory.
one. So one memory that we can make a movie about, right? Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Okay. So I'm blanking. Either 10 or 11 summers attended a sleepaway camp, and I also worked there as a counselor. My mom went to this camp. My younger brother went there. It's called Camp Scatico. It's in upstate New York, and for 7 weeks, starting at the age of 8 or 9, I went there and made some of my closest friends and best memories there, and learned a lot and grew a lot as a person. The camp was founded by a guy named Nat Holman, who is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And he was on the original Celtics. They were a barnstorming basketball team back in the early 1900s. And he was also the head coach of CCNY, City College of New York, who's the only team in history to win the NCAA tournament and NIT in the same year. And back then, the NIT was actually bigger than the NCAA tournament, pretty much. So in honor of this guy, Nat Holman, at our camp, we have this basketball tournament every year called the Nat Holman Invitational Tournament. And it's called the Nat for short. And growing up, I played basketball, and that was always my dream, to be able to finally play in the Nat. So my second to last summer as a camper, I thought I was going to make the team, and I got cut. I didn't make it. And it was a bummer. I was really disappointed because I worked hard for it, and I always envisioned myself playing. So the following summer, and I guess the off-season, quote-unquote off-season, even though camp is only 2 months, I worked really hard and wanted to make sure that I wouldn't only make the team, but that I would make a big impact. And I made the team. I ended up being a starter on the team. First round of the tournament, we play the team who's won the tournament the most, and we compete against other camps. And our whole camp comes. It's like everyone's standing and yelling. Think of the Cameron Crazies. It's like that. It's a crazy atmosphere. So we're down by 2 points with 7 seconds to go, and I had a great game. I've never been the most athletic guy, but I've always been a good shooter, and I hit a bunch of threes, and we're down to the final 7 seconds, and down by 2. I was inbounding it from pretty much in line with the opposite foul line. Inbounded it to this guy named Sam Littman. He dribbles up the court. He's double teamed. We tried to run a play. We weren't able to run it. I'm wide open, opposite side of the court. He makes a great skip pass to me on the left wing, and I hit a 3-pointer. I turn around. I'm yelling, "Get back, get back." I look up at the game clock, and it expired, and I realized I just hit a game-winning buzzer-beating 3-pointer in the basketball tournament that I've my whole life looked forward to playing in. And everyone stormed the court, and they picked me up on their shoulders, and that was the greatest moment of my athletic career, without a doubt, and one of the best memories of my life. And there's a video of it. It's on YouTube, too, actually. If you look up Camp Scatico, it's one of the first that comes up. But even to this day, I go back to camp. I haven't worked there in 5 or 6 years, and kids still know who I am because of that shot. Pretty crazy.
Athletics will always bridge the gap between people and cultures and everything else, and we are excited for athletics to return hopefully here soon, not only so that you can call some baseball games this summer, but also so that we can get Braves athletics back. John, the 3-point shooter, buzzer-beating champion that you are, thank you so much for getting this podcast off the ground, all that you did this year. We can't wait to have you back, and thanks for joining us here.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to listening to the podcast throughout the summer, and I'm thrilled for the opportunity to return in the fall.
Once again, a special thanks to both Nathalia Silva, who is our Scotland Healthcare Student Athlete of the Week from the UNCP swim team, and John Gross, the voice of the Braves, for joining us here this evening on BraveHawk Talk. Make sure to follow us on social media. That's at UNCP_sports on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and now also on TikTok. You can catch all of the BraveHawk Talk episodes on our YouTube channel as well at youtube.com/UNCP Braves. Thanks so much for joining us here this evening. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great evening.